I can no longer say that I've never seen poop come out of somebody's butt. And now I've seen it twice, thanks to this new movie, The Long Walk. Whew! What a crazy assignment for the VFX team. Assuming it's VFX, how badly do you want to be in a movie, young man? Wow. But it's surprisingly appropriate visual for one of the worst movies I've ever seen, which is pretty shocking considering the talent involved. It's based on a novel by frickin' Stephen King, although, you know, he's gotten political, so, well, we'll talk. I mean, this is a political movie, but whew, talk about serving up content on a platter to toxic hate channels. A screenplay by the writer and director of Strange Darling, which was an amazing movie. Oh, so good. Produced by Roy Lee, who is a horror super producer who should be as famous as Jason Blum. And he's produced so many fantastic horror movies, from the It films to Strange Darling. And of course, the most recent one he did was Weapons. So I don't know how this happened. And it was directed by Francis Lawrence, who has directed all of the Hunger Games movies except the first one. And those movies are wildly uneven, but some of them are pretty darn good. Although Lawrence also directed Red Sparrow, and this is actually even worse than Red Sparrow, which you would think would be difficult to do, but he's found a way. So what the heck happened here? And am I going to be the only one who feels this way? We'll see. I do wonder sometimes as a female critic if I wonder if guys will maybe like this. I don't know. I mean, I think some of my arguments are universal for why this movie is not good. But I'm seeing some buzz for it, and they've lifted the review embargo really early, which shows that they're very confident in it. But I'm going to make my case now for why I think this movie is, well, crap. To make my case in the strongest way possible, I'm going to start with a criticism that I think everybody could be on board with. And that's, how do you bring in Mark frickin' Hamill as the major? I mean, so much potential there, so much opportunity. And you do not give him a killer monologue. I mean, that's insane to me. They don't even give him a single big scene. I mean, I guess you could argue there's one major scene which he partakes in, but he's not at all the focus of it whatsoever. It's ridiculous. I'd say that Mark Hamill has approximately 10 lines in the entire film and less than 5 minutes of screen time. I couldn't tell you why he signed on. Perhaps, I mean, maybe it was the old Hollywood reason of the money, but maybe because of the very clumsy political message of the film, maybe that got him to sign on. But I mean, once you sign Mark Hamill, you go back and you write him a monologue. All right, speaking of the cast, the only actor holding this movie up is David Jonsson from Alien, Romulus, and Industry, who recently, and deservedly, won the BAFTA Rising Star Award. He is able to bring incredible heart and warmth to his role, and he's the only actor that manages to sell the idea of the long walk. When he's speaking and on screen, you kind of buy into the concept. But it's overall just so poorly presented here, which we're going to discuss. But I have a few more comments about the cast. Now, I'm very sorry to say, at least here, that Philip Seymour Hoffman's son doesn't have anywhere near his late father's charisma or depth of character. But maybe he'll get there. I mean, at first, I wasn't that impressed with James Gandolfini's son, Michael, and I wasn't impressed for a very long time. But then I saw Warfare, and I was like, maybe there's something here. He was okay in Daredevil as well, but Warfare is what really convinced me that potentially he's just been miscast up until now. So I'm not going to say that Philip Seymour Hoffman's son shouldn't be acting, at least not yet. All right, and while I loved Ben Wang in Karate Kid Legends, I thought he was so good in that movie. Here, he seems to be doing a bad and somewhat offensive impression of Ke Huy Quan in Temple of Doom. I mean, maybe it was intentional. It seems so similar. To be fair, though, to the actors, for a movie about just walking, you would think that would mean there would be plenty of time for character development. And it seems that in the original novel, it is very character-focused. But they don't do that here. So the actors, except Jonsson. Jonsson has one monologue, which I think was pretty good. And I think actually was pretty good life advice. But anyway, the actors really don't have very much to work with for the most part, including Mr. Mark Hamill. Also, this is supposed to be a sampling of young men from across the United States, one from each state, right? But they all just look like a group of theater kids, which, it should really have all different types of young men represented here. And I think I've spoken about this before, particularly, for instance, with like superheroes. There's not the kind of people who are interested in going into acting tend to be from, specific groups, which is why when you have someone who's an outlier, like say Chris Pratt, come into the mix, they really stand out. And also they don't have a lot of competition because, who else would be able to fill those roles? So here you were it just didn't feel like you were looking at a cross-section of America. I think that it should have been like an American version of It's a Small World. That should have been amazing. The audience feeling reflected by and rooting for their home state or against it, depending on how you feel about your home state. But that potential here is just totally wasted. This reminds me a bit of the conversation we had about John Carter of Mars and Superman and Star Wars, that even though John Carter inspired those, by the time it reached the pop culture landscape, it seemed derivative of the things that it had inspired. So yes, The Long Walk might have come first, written in 1979, but now it seems extremely derivative of Hunger Games, Squid Game, and The Purge. Stephen King had I looked it up because this seems so sophomoric, but he actually had written a number of novels before he wrote this one, including the iconic Carrie and The Shining. But this one, shockingly, feels like a bad junior novel, or I think even more accurately, like an attempt at intellectual, political, and societal commentary by a not too bright 7th grader. Although I do, applaud the effort if it was just a 7th grader. But it's not. It's a bunch of adults. At one point, they even play the American national anthem, and you're like, I get it. I get that you're trying, what you're like, it's, you have to have nuance to really sell these things, or otherwise you're just complaining. And we live in a big complainosphere now. So to cut through all that complaining, you really got to have a strong argument. And this movie doesn't have it. I'm afraid the much beleaguered Lionsgate, as I said, is playing directly into the hands of toxic hate channels who are going to have an absolute field day with this movie. What is The Long Walk a metaphor for, right? That life is just a long, straight, forced march? Well, I don't think that metaphor really works for life. What about, for instance, all the forks in the road? There's a pretty famous poem about forks in the road. And why is it just young men if it's only walking? I kind of got the idea that it was supposed to represent soldiers, right? Stephen King wrote this a few years after the Vietnam War, and it's believed to be a commentary on the Vietnam War. And yeah, a long, straight, forced march, I guess, kind of works in that regard. But it's not right after the Vietnam War anymore. You're in a very different scenario. It's 2025. So the setup should have been updated, in my opinion, because now it just seems either antiquated or nonsensical. It's like a 1970s idea. I guess that's a big part of the issue. Like, they haven't updated any of the commentary whatsoever. So you're just like, it's like hearing your not talk about complaining. It's like hearing your grandpa complain. All right. But even within the world of the film itself, The Long Walk doesn't make any sense. And let me explain why. First off, they say they're televising the walk. They even show a camera, which is also seems like it's from the 70s. Is this movie supposed to take place in the 70s? Maybe, but then they didn't reflect any of that in the dynamics between the characters. It was after the Civil Rights Movement, but it seemed modern in the way that the diverse characters interacted with each other. But anyway, all right, so they say they're televising the walk, but they never show anyone watching the telecast. That to me was shocking. The movie is just so distractingly cheap with zero world building. The major rules the entire United States, and yet he only has 5 soldiers with him and 3 trucks. The contestants conveniently walk down empty roads through the middle of nowhere. It's explained that spectators aren't allowed until the very end, but when spectators finally do show up, it's extremely underwhelming for a nationally televised event. You would think it would be it doesn't even feel like the end of the New York City Marathon in terms of the crowd. If you told me this movie had been filmed during COVID, I would believe it. I mean, and that's, the recent War of the Worlds movie that everybody made fun of was shot during COVID, and they just sat on it for a very long time over at Prime Video, and that's why it looks the way that it does. But this movie was made recently, so it's just like, what? The Major says The Long Walk is an annual event which always increases productivity after it airs, which is why they keep doing it. Now, he feels that it inspires, that's his spiel. It inspires people, but I mean, clearly nothing about this would inspire anybody. Maybe it's supposed to strike fear into them to motivate them that way. But I don't understand how it would even make them afraid. I mean, it's just an incredibly depressing and fatalistic endeavor. Like, I would think productivity would plummet after this thing airs because it makes it clear that nobody's ever going to escape this dystopian America. Like, you can even work, I mean, I guess, it does seem like the draft maybe, right? But these are, again, this is commentary that's pretty stale. You can't even work hard here in this scenario in the hopes of maybe that would keep you from getting picked or one of your loved ones being selected, because everyone must apply to participate, and the participants are chosen at random. Hello, Hunger Games. Now in Squid Game, yes, there the players volunteer, but they have no idea that if they lose, they'll be killed. And in both Hunger Games and Squid Game, I mean, Squid Game isn't, well, it's televised to the wealthy donors, right? The elite. So yes, those have some entertainment factor to them, right? But here, I can't understand why anybody would want to watch this. It's just, again, people walking. And that's where the poop comes in, by the way, because you can't stop for anything. But also, at the same time, it's impossible to have a strategy. Like at least in Hunger Games and Squid Game, you feel like maybe you have a chance, and how could you maybe increase your odds by, planning ahead or being clever? Here, it also, like, certain things happen to people as they walk, and they don't explain the biology of it. You're like, I have no idea why you would start bleeding profusely or get sick so quickly. Like, things like that. Like, it almost seemed more science fiction-y than this would actually happen to you if you walked for this amount of time. Also, I don't know if you could walk for this amount of, I mean, they keep saying how many miles they've walked, but I would have appreciated knowing how long that took, because I don't know how long it takes to walk 300 miles. So, and every place they went looked the same. So you didn't feel like they'd walked a very far time. You were like, what has this been, like a day or something? I mean, I don't know, but I'm a big walker, right? Like, it feels like it wouldn't be this fatal. So, I mean, I wish that it had been, don't they have like a medic somewhere that could maybe explain some of this to us? Like, that's one of the other things about Hunger Games. There was commentary. They had commentators. I mean, again, I think it would have helped immensely to actually show the telecast. And then also, on that note, that would be an opportunity to interview the contestants, live on the telecast. And therefore also would have given an opportunity to do some much needed character building. It was just literally, the movie was just walking. If you want to watch a good story about oppressive regimes and the different ways that people react to that oppression, watch Andor, particularly Andor Season 2. Or if you're looking for commentary on the Vietnam War, there are a ton of far better films to watch. Or the horrors of a dystopian future. Hollywood has discussed all of this before and done a much, much better job. This is basically just watching a number of young men be tortured with nothing, not entertainment value, not commentary, not filmmaking, to justify it. And that's my review of The Long Walk, hitting theaters September 12th. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.